Do you want to up your Instagram cred, or you just have an affinity for vintage or retro photos? You want your photos to have that vintage or retro look and feel? Well, you're in the right place. In this video, I'll dive into a free app called Pixlr, which is available on both iOS and Android, and that can help you get these cool retro effects. Hey guys, I'm Mariam, and on this channel, you'll find useful tips to get the most out of your daily tech. Let's get on with it. So here on my Android phone, I have the Pixlr app. So I'll open it up. And you can see here you have 4 options. So basically you can just use the camera option to sort of open the default camera app, which opens your default camera app basically. And then you have the photos option to just select from your gallery. You have a collage option where you can create collages, and you have a template option where basically you can create different sorts of photo templates for yourself. So we'll go into the photos option. And here my gallery is already open, so I'll just pick a photograph for myself to retrofy. And here we go. So as you can see, it already does have a retro look and feel to it because of the colors. But how about I really send this photograph way back in time? So as you can see, you have 5 different options right at the bottom bar. So there is tools, then there is brushes. You have these effects, overlays and stylize options within this wand symbol. So within effects you have a default effect, vintage, soft, too old, and the list goes on. You have something called overlays as well, which are really useful in retrofying your photos. We'll get into that a bit later. And then you have a stylize option, which basically adds these very stylish effects to your photos. Then we have frames right at the bottom. Within frames you have several options. You can use these to retrofy your photos as well. There's a stickers option, but I don't really use it. Personally, I just avoid it completely. And there is lastly a text option right here where you can just insert any sort of text you want on top of your photographs. Here I'd like to give you a step that I follow in order to retrofy any photo I have, so feel free to follow these steps as well. So the first step that I do is I go into the wand and I select one of the effects. So I like to go into too old, and as you can see that the too old option sort of already applies these very retro effects to your photos. It sort of gives you a glimpse into what they will look like. I like to go for the Gordon effect, and you can see that this already gives it a sepia tone, which gives it a retro look. And the cool thing about this is that if you feel like this is too yellow or brown, you can adjust the intensity of this filter. I'll just stay till 85 maybe, because I like the sepia tones here, but I also like the red in the building right at the back, so I just want that to be there. After going into that, I'll go back into the wand and I'll go into something called overlay. Within overlay, I usually go into something called wave. So as you can see, this is quite intense. I mean, it looks very artificial, but you can tweak the intensity of this effect as well. Right at the bottom, you have a slider. You can just use it to tweak the intensity. And I'd like to keep it at 50% because I want to see the little bit of light bleed that this effect sort of shows. And the cool thing about it is that you can shift that light bleed using these toggles right above. You have a flip toggle, which is horizontal and vertical, and you have this rotate toggle. So I'd like to keep it right there, and I'll just reduce the intensity a little bit more, and there we go. So feel free to adjust the intensity as per your photograph. Now I'd like to pick another overlay, which is called scratches. So scratches just adds that sort of grunginess that old photos usually have because they've been stored away for so long. And again, this is way too intense, so I will adjust the intensity. There we go. That looks okay to me. And finally, I'll go into tools and I will make an adjustment So in adjustment, you can basically play around with the exposure, the temperature, the contrast. So here is where I will do some sort of changes according to the photograph. So firstly, I'll increase the temperature of the photograph. So I'll make it a bit warmer. There we go. And I will reduce the exposure of the photograph because I don't want it to look very bright. I want it to look like an old battered photograph. There we go. And now I want to just go into effect again. And the last effect that I will be applying to this photo is Hagrid within the default effects. I like to use the effect Hagrid as it adds a little bit of a sharpness to the photograph. Now I'll go into frames and I'll pick the old frame, but as you can see the intensity is quite a bit here, so I will reduce it to my liking. And here you can compare this photograph which we've modified to the original. And finally you can save your photograph in different sizes. This app is excellent for adding flair to your photos and it's free. So go retroing your photos and do leave a comment suggesting other apps that you're using to add that retro vintage effect to your photos. You can find a link to my other tech reviews down in the description. Check them out. See you guys in my next video. Bye-bye.